I want you to picture a submarine just moving silently through the South Pacific.
Right. No lights, no wake.
Exactly. Absolutely no warning. It's just this massive dark shape lurking under thousands of tons of water. And it's listening, it's waiting, and for almost every vessel on the surface, it is entirely invisible.
Completely undetectable, yeah.
But now I want you to picture a completely different scene directly above that exact same stretch of ocean. A helicopter is hovering, just above the whitecaps.
Unspooling a cable.
Yeah, dropping these advanced acoustic sensors deep beneath the waves, hunting for the tiny, almost imperceptible mechanical signatures that a normal ship would never even register.
And if a threat is confirmed down there in the dark, this specific helicopter is actually carrying weapons explicitly designed to track and neutralize it.
Right. That machine is the MH-60R Seahawk. And here is the staggering sticker shock that kicks off our deep dive today. The United States just approved a possible $1.5 billion sale of exactly 5 of these submarine-hunting helicopters to New Zealand.
It's a huge number. 5 helicopters. $1.5 billion.
I mean, wow. Okay, let's unpack this. Because this deep dive isn't just about a military purchase, it's about solving a puzzle in our source material. Why is New Zealand, a country totally famous for its isolation and its peaceful image, suddenly spending a breathtaking fortune on maritime defense?
Well, to understand the purchase, you really have to look at the massive shift happening in the entire Pacific Ocean. I mean, for generations, the Pacific was treated as this blue buffer.
Right, just this vast, quiet space.
Exactly. It naturally separated nations from the volatile flashpoints of the globe. But that era is over. The blue buffer has rapidly transformed into a highly contested strategic theater. It's crowded with competing naval powers and covert operations now.
So if you're listening to this right now and you've ever felt like your geography or, the sheer distance between you and the rest of the world keeps you safe, New Zealand is proving that the old map is officially broken. We can't understand the helicopters until we understand the immense territory they have to protect.
Yeah, for decades, New Zealand's entire defense posture rested on one pretty powerful assumption, which was that geography is defense.
Because they're just so far away from everything.
Right. Thousands of miles from Europe, the Middle East, all the historical conflict zones, policymakers literally looked at a globe and just saw distance. And distance from war meant safety.
And feeling geographically insulated naturally dictates how a nation spends its money, right? Defense takes a back seat.
Oh, absolutely.
You focus your national budget on things that feel much more urgent to everyday citizens. So housing, healthcare, schools. The military just isn't treated as a first-order priority when the world feels that far away.
And that logic held up perfectly well until the nature of the ocean itself began to change. I mean, New Zealand's leadership is publicly abandoning that old mental map now.
Yeah, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon explicitly admitted they're moving away from a benign environment into one that is strategically competitive.
To grasp why they feel so exposed, we really have to redefine what New Zealand actually is. People picture land, right, like sheep farms, mountains, rugby.
Lord of the Rings.
Right, exactly. But strategically speaking, New Zealand is an ocean. Its exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, covers roughly 4.1 million square kilometers of sea.
That is just a staggering metric. It's this immense area of responsibility. We're talking critical shipping lanes, vital fisheries, access to the Antarctic, and this absolute web of undersea internet cables.
It's massive.
I was trying to visualize that vulnerability for, an everyday listener. And it's kind of like imagine owning a small, cozy house, but your backyard is the size of a national park.
Okay, I like that.
It has no fences, no lights, and your vital water and power lines run right underneath it.
Oh, that hits the exact vulnerability military planners are worried about. Those lines are the undersea cables connecting New Zealand to the global economy.
Right.
And the threats in that massive unlit backyard aren't traditional invasions. No one is planning a D-Day landing on the beaches of Auckland. The modern threats are unseen. They exist in what strategists call gray zone operations.
Gray zone meaning actions that fall just below the threshold of actual war, right?
Precisely. We're talking about state-sponsored fleets of seemingly civilian fishing boats that strip mine fisheries, or covert surveillance ships dragging sensors along the seafloor to map exactly where those cables are, maybe even leaving listening devices behind.
And of course, the submarines.
Yes, quietly gathering intelligence. A sub doesn't need to fire a torpedo to be a threat. It just needs to map critical infrastructure.
Which brings us back to the tool New Zealand bought to patrol that massive unlit field. Because the MH-60R Seahawk is basically a flying warship with ears.
That's a great way to put it. It extends a Navy's reach far beyond the horizon to find targets in an ocean where the water itself is designed to hide them.
Let's talk about that physics part, because finding a submarine requires this machine. And the ocean physics are fascinating. The water actively hides them.
It's incredible acoustic science. Sound doesn't travel in a straight line underwater. The ocean is full of thermoclines.
Which are what, exactly?
They're sharp boundaries where warm surface water meets freezing deep water, and submarines are engineered to exploit this. A captain will dive below a thermocline because that temperature shift literally bends and scatters sonar signals back toward the surface.
Wow, so it acts like an acoustic invisibility cloak.
Exactly. A surface ship pinging its standard sonar is essentially just shouting into a distorted mirror. It never penetrates that cold layer. But the Seahawk defeats that problem entirely. It hovers, unspools a cable, and drops a physical dipping sonar device right through the thermocline.
And plunging it into the cold water below.
Right, bypassing the invisibility cloak.
That science is super cool, but I have to push back here because I look at the math and my immediate reaction is just outrage. Here is where it gets really interesting. $1.5 billion for 5 helicopters is $300 million a pop.
That's a massive number.
That sounds completely extreme. Are they made of gold? I mean, you could fund hospitals or schools with that money. How do planners justify that price tag?
Well, what's fascinating here is how modern military procurement actually works under the foreign military sales system. Taxpayers have every right to gasp, but New Zealand isn't just buying an airframe. They aren't going to a dealership and driving off the lot.
Okay, so what are they buying?
They are buying an entire operating ecosystem.
Ah, okay. I was thinking about this. And it's basically like buying a professional racing car. You aren't just paying for the carbon fiber and the metal, right? If you want to race, you are paying for the mechanics, the garage, the highly classified simulators, the pit crew.
Exactly. Without that surrounding ecosystem, you just have a very expensive driveway ornament. That $1.5 billion pays for the anti-submarine weapons, the encrypted communication so it can't be hacked, spare parts, software integration, and guaranteed maintenance pathways for the future.
But you can't buy an American-made ecosystem of that scale without tying yourself to American foreign policy. Dropping $1.5 billion pulls New Zealand straight into the geopolitical pressure cooker.
It does. The strategic squeeze they're caught in is delicate. On one side, you have China, which is a massive trading partner, but with a rapidly expanding naval and diplomatic presence in the Pacific.
We should pause here and be clear. We aren't fear-mongering about an inevitable war. This is about deterrence, having options before a crisis begins.
Exactly. And on the other side of that squeeze are the U.S. and Australia, historical security partners who are pushing allies to spend more, which highlights the Seahawks' real superpower interoperability.
Meaning they can talk to each other?
Yes. Australia and the U.S. already fly it. New Zealand is buying direct compatibility with a massive allied network.
So what does this all mean?
It means this purchase is a diplomatic message with rotors. It signals to Washington and Canberra that Wellington is carrying its weight, and signals to Beijing that New Zealand's maritime zone is no longer unmonitored.
The diplomatic message is strong, yeah, but the physical reality on the ground brings us to a major vulnerability. Let's look at the fleet math. Right now, New Zealand operates 8 aging Seasprite helicopters.
Right.
They are replacing those 8 with just 5 Seahawks.
It's a stark reduction in airframes.
I get that the new ones are better, but aircraft need maintenance. It's like buying 5 elite goalkeepers and expecting them to cover every single match, every training camp, every injury without a bench. The quality is premium, but the depth is paper thin.
It really is, especially fighting saltwater corrosion. The math is brutal. 1 hour in the air can mean 10 to 20 hours of maintenance on the ground, plus deep phase maintenance that takes an aircraft offline for months.
So on a random Tuesday, you might only have 1 or 2 actually available to fly.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you see why they took that risk. New Zealand is aiming for a $9 billion defense uplift over 4 years, trying to move from spending around 1% of GDP on defense to a goal of 2%.
Over 8 years, right?
Yes. But the true test is that buying a helicopter just takes one government cycle. Retaining engineers, funding upgrades, and sustaining this massive budget across multiple future elections, that's incredibly hard. If the funding drops, these 5 premium helicopters are just stranded in an under-resourced system.
So for you listening, the summary of this whole shift is that New Zealand's old model of cheap peace based on geographic isolation is dead. The new model is costly preparedness.
Right. It's a promise that defense will no longer be the first budget line cut when domestic politics get tough.
Right.
Because capabilities and alliances protect a nation, not maps.
Which leaves you with a final provocative thought to ponder. As the era of cheap peace ends, how will democracies balance the skyrocketing cost of military deterrence with the everyday needs of their citizens? Especially when voters love security but hate paying for it. Makes you wonder if 5 helicopters are just a headline or the start of a true transformation. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you on the next one.